Hi, this is Holly Lisle, and we are here for the How to Write a Series Brainstorming. While I am waiting for folks to show up, we've got a nice little group that should be here today. And what we're going to be doing is answering, the writers are going to be asking questions about places where they are stuck in their story, and I'm going to be helping them figure out how to brainstorm that. Let me see. All right, and cool, we have some folks in here now already. All right. Haha. The way this is going to work is we have what's called the sentence, which is protagonist versus antagonist in a setting with a twist. And you have 30 words in which to present your sentence. You have to figure out how that sentence ties into your story, and my writers are presenting their sentences to me and then letting me know about whatever problem that they have with the story that they're writing. So right now, okay, I've got teenage boy inherits hall tree that breaks, revealing Merlin's wand inside, and now others know what he holds. Oh, okay. Timothy says, sorry, wrong line. Modern teen doesn't want the responsibility, but as Merlin's descendant only, he has the blood of Merlin and must be spilt to save us all. A sacrifice story. All right. I'm not sure yet. Timothy, go ahead and let me know what the problem you are facing in writing the story is. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my notes here, or I'm going to write some notes here and figure out, okay, first off, protagonist is a teenage boy. Okay, that's kind of vague. We need to know in the sentence what makes him special. So he needs to be some sort of specific kind of teenage boy. Let's see, and then he inherits the hall tree that breaks. Okay, so inherits hall tree. Is our versus or conflict. Okay. The setting for this is going to be Arthurian legend, or something where Merlin is involved. And now others know what he holds. Okay, so inherits the hall tree that breaks. I have no idea what a hall tree is, but I was thinking some sort of a wand. But a hall tree, I guess, could be a setting. If it is a location. Timothy, when you present this to an editor, you want to make sure that you have figured out a way to make this sentence a little bit clearer. I am definitely lost on hall tree. Because if it's a setting, it changes completely what I'm looking at here. The others would, if it's a setting, then others who know what he holds becomes the antagonist. But we do know that he has Merlin's wand. All right. Okay, this is starting to click for me because of something that you said about problem not being like, oh, okay, a hall tree, an old hat rack. Okay, thank you. That makes an enormous difference. I was envisioning hollow trees and all sorts of other things that might have been. Okay, that changes things a lot. I'm guessing then that our setting is actually fairly current. The hall tree breaks. It drops Merlin's wand on a normal teenage boy, giving him some sort of magical powers. A teenage boy with magical powers. I have a teenage boy. He's 16, almost 17. Teenage boy with magical powers is its own danger. And then what we're looking at here is people know what he holds, and obviously there are going to be people who want to get Merlin's wand. All right, and the problem is to not be a cliche, okay? To not copy the stuff that was done in Harry Potter. All right, so the areas where you are vague, Timothy, are in who the boy is and who the others who find out about the wand are. If people are tracking this through time, you have one kind of conflict. If he uses the wand and people who are aware of magic discover it, that's a second kind of conflict that in current day people. If he takes it to school and zaps his teachers, and then the students who go to school with him discover what he has, is a third kind of conflict. So what you need to do here is sit down and very carefully define which kind of conflict you want, and also define what makes Timothy special. Why is he your protagonist out of all possible teenage boys or teenage girls? What makes him the most complicated person who can acquire a magic wand? Because you throw a magic wand in any kid's hand, it's going to make him special, but it's going to make him special by a sort of third-party deus ex machina. In order for Timothy to matter as the protagonist, not just as the recipient of the wand, but as a character that we care about, he has to have a tight backstory of who he is and what matters to him, what's important to him, why do we care? Further, we need to know exactly what kind of people want the wand and are after him. And I hope that helps. I can come back to you in a little bit. We have a relatively small group, so if you want to add a follow-up question to this, go ahead, and I will come back to it if I can. All right, and our next person up is Janet Kerr. Oh, okay, Janet. Okay. How could I make it How could I make it believable, Janet says, to have the victimologist kill the villain in jail and then get away from it, or then get away with it? Okay. Jail well monitored, to my understanding. I don't have any firsthand on this, but I think that they have pretty good cameras, places. It would be very difficult to find a place where you didn't get to see this and understand what happened. Other than if your victimologist could get the villain to attack him or her and make the killing look like self-defense, in which case it would present as someone who was there to help the villain. The villain responds badly or tries to take advantage of the victimologist. The victimologist uses some sort of non-weapon that is at hand, ballpoint pen, or I don't know what else a victimologist would carry with her. Car keys? Probably not. I don't know what people can take into a jail with them, and this is something that you would have to research. But essentially, you're going to have, I can't think of another way to do this than to have the villain attack the victimologist, and the victimologist have incited this somehow that cannot be seen on camera, and then kill the villain and get away from it, get away with it that way. All right. If you want to add a follow-on to that, because again, we have about 23 folks in here. We're going to do this for an hour, so we may have some extra time. Write a follow-on in there, and I'll get to it if I can. All right, Cher. Hi. Cher says, okay, here's the 30-word description of the story. An amnesiac ghost refuses to move on until she solves the mystery of her death. But if she doesn't do it quickly, she'll become an earthbound wraith forever. Okay, that's a pretty neat sentence there. The amnesiac ghost interests us immediately because why would a ghost have amnesia? Refuses to move on is the conflict. Solves her own death. We can assume. Well, we can't assume anything. Solves her own death. She doesn't know how it happened. It might be a murder. It might be an accident. It might be some third thing. With a time clock, which gives you some nice, that's neat. Okay, she discovers the world is teeming with supernatural beings and her murderer is, oh, okay, so she does know she was murdered. All right, and her murderer is one of them. Too boring or overdone for one book or series. No, there is this misconception that because an idea has been used before, it shouldn't be used again. The thing is, you can give the same idea to 100 writers, and they will come up with 100 completely different stories. You cannot overuse an idea. You can overuse the way other people have treated the idea, which means you've got to come up with it on your own. How you're going to do that. And you do that by developing your characters. You do that by developing your plot. You do that by asking questions. Why is this different than what I've read before? Why is this character unusual? So we have a female amnesiac ghost. And what you have to do is ask yourself as the writer, not as the character, but as the writer, ask yourself, how did this character get killed? And how do I hide that from her? And what do I do to make it difficult for her to find the truth? I know this isn't a boring idea at all. This is pretty cool. Potentially, you can do a lot of stuff with this. Let's see. Is there anything else I can think to add here? Emphasize the fact that she is in contact with a bunch of other supernatural beings, and how, if her murderer is a supernatural being too, is he also a ghost, or is he some other sort of supernatural being that killed her as whatever he was? I mean, supernatural is a big category. Is he dead? Is he alive, but with some sort of supernatural powers, telepathic, hyperkinetic, kinetic, telekinetic? Thank you. There it is. What makes her? Okay, Cher got something from that. Okay, cool. Okay, so concentrate on what's special about your characters. Concentrate on what's special about the aspect of supernatural that you want to bring into this. Okay, and if you have a follow-on for that, go ahead and add it. I will get it if I can. Okay, I see Misty. Hey, Misty. Reluctant psychic suffers from terrifying visions. Okay, while dodging an ancient cult. I just had a bunch of old messages pop up right beneath your question. So I'm not sure why that happened. Again, I'm having fun with add-ons. But let me try this again, okay? A reluctant psychic suffers from terrifying visions while dodging an ancient cult determined to wipe all magic from the face of the earth. Okay, and Mohawk burglarizes a temple to rescue kidnapped children and is forced to choose between her sister and the family who destroyed her life. Okay, so we've got two separate story ideas here. I'm not sure which one you want to do. Let's start with the first one because that sounds kind of neat. A reluctant psychic. Okay, I like reluctant psychics. I've written a few of those myself. People who do not appreciate the fact that they have some sort of view into the rest of the universe that other people don't see, because people can take their little gifts kind of badly, disbelieve them, call them frauds, and the people who do believe them can take advantage of them. All right. Beyond that, she has terrifying visions. Yeah, which is also that's nice. Dodging an ancient cult. All right. So do her if here's the thing that ran through my mind reading this sentence is if magic is wiped from the face of the earth, would that solve the problem of whatever terrifying vision she's seeing? Because the ancient cult determined to wipe all magic from the face of the earth sounds like they're working against themselves if they are interfering with the terrifying magical visions that she's got going. Wow, and my mind takes this into a comedy. I'm sorry, that's not anywhere near where you're going with this. I can see that. Figure out why she is suffering from the visions. Figure out what happens specifically and in detail if the ancient cult succeeds in removing magic from the earth. And then we'll move on to the second sentence here, which is Mohawk burglarizes a temple. Okay, and Mohawk, I am guessing, is the name of a character. To rescue kidnapped children, and is forced to choose between her sister and the family who destroyed her life. Wow, that doesn't sound like any sort of conflict at all. I would ditch the family who destroyed my life in a heartbeat and help my sister. I mean, this one needs some work on the conflict. Because, okay, rescuing kidnapped children, that's good. It's a little Indiana Jones Temple of Doomish, but I can assume that you're going to do something different with this than that, which was just terrible. And beyond that, you need a conflict people can get behind. And the conflict in the second sentence is very weak, simply because if I were related to people who had destroyed my life, the fact that they were related to me would mean absolutely nothing. Whereas a sister that I cared about, that would mean a lot. Better conflict, something deeper, something. If she is forced to choose between two different groups of people she genuinely loves, then she's got some stuff at stake, and she will get a lot more sympathy from the people who are reading about her than she's going to get if she is what is essentially being dumb. You don't run into the fan blade on purpose. You don't stick your hand into the meat cleaver. Don't help the people who destroyed you. Okay. Again, if you have something to add that you want into that. Oh, the Mohawk thing isn't her. Oh boy. Okay. Well, for whomever then the Mohawk sentence, to whomever that actually belongs, same comments go. All right. So apparently, among other fun things, chat is now switching around windows. Okay. And what I've got here now, I've got Betty Arnold. Hi, Betty. Betty says, can you talk a bit about mystery with fantasy as a core type? My story is a gaslight mystery. Can you talk about the blended genre of mystery and fantasy? I'm doing a series of gaslight mysteries with a fantasy element. Okay, I've got 3 of those. And in terms of tentacles. Okay. When you are crossing genres, you don't, there's not really anything that is required of you special except that you take some care with your world building, because genre, again, is an imaginary thing made up by marketers to put books into particular aisles so that people can find them easily. It does not affect how you write your story. But moving past that, okay, we've got fantasy. Okay, and fantasy is enormously broad. So along with Gaslight, which is, to me, Gaslight says kind of a steampunk era thing. And I'm not sure if that's what you mean by it, but that's what it says to me. Gaslight mysteries, something with sort of a steampunk feel. And then fantasy. What you want to focus on is what kind of fantasy. And if one thing that I have noticed, and I cross genres a lot, is the more genres you involve, the more specific you have to be about the elements of each you introduce. You don't want to include, for example, werewolves and elves in a fantasy / mystery. You want to keep your world building tighter than that. So specifically figure out which element of fantasy matters the most to you. If it's high magic, then stick with that. If it's supernatural creatures, stick with that. If it is some sort of modern technological thing that that people can do with magic, magic by computer was a big genre for a while, and people had figured out how to program magic, and that was fun. But again, that would conflict with any other kind of magic that you introduce into this. So figure out the kind of magic, and then with your tentacles, figure out the important character elements, the important plot elements, and the important conflict elements that you work through for the specific details of the kind of magic you are using and the specific details for the kind of mysteries you want to do. Do you want to do murders? Do you want to do missing people? Do you want to do missing things? There are a lot of different kinds of mystery too. Are you looking for the introduction of any sort of humor in this? Figure out and eliminate all the stuff that you don't want and narrow it down to the things that are the most important to you. Define these clearly, and then write your tentacles once you have narrowed down your categories. Okay, and I'm going to move on to Ellen. Okay, Ellen was the person with Mohawk and Domini. Okay, so, all right. The Priestess Diplomat doesn't belong to Ellen. Okay, but Ellen, I have already answered the Mohawk burglarizes a temple question, so I'm not sure who Priestess Diplomat belongs to, but I'm going to go ahead and do that one now. Wild. The chat, I'm definitely going to have to see what's going on with this. Okay, so what we've got here is Priestess Diplomat. No, okay, that is Ellen. Okay, Ellen, we're going to do this one next. Okay, I see. It's just because the story only allows characters up to about 40. The chat window only allows up to about 40 characters. So her sentence got split. All right. Priestess Diplomat Domini's High Priestess is corrupt. And her friend hosts. Okay, this sounds potentially science fiction-ish. Friend sounds like an SF term to me. But High Priestess sounds like fantasy. The friend hosts hold dangerous secrets, and visiting children could be essential saviors or weapons of war. Trying to figure out which one to focus on. Oh, okay. Split between two stories. That's always fun. Which one has the conflict that you like the best? Basically, fiction is about writing conflict. And the one that has the conflict that is clearer in your mind right now is generally the better choice to go with. Now, you can sit down and carefully develop your conflict and come up with something for one or other to make it stronger if you have a general story preference. But always pick as your project the story with the conflict that really calls to you, the problem that you want to solve the most. And okay, let me see. I have Hanichi here. Okay, hasn't written anything yet. And let's see. Nope, that's an old post. Okay. Okay, Claudette. Here we go. 30-word sentence for Wisher's World. 14-year-old orphan boy appreciates. Oh, I'm sorry. 14-year-old orphan boy apprentices with master trader and is charged with helping to make changes in a dying world while staying alive himself, unaware that he carries the world's soul. Okay, that's a nice twist. Unaware that he carries the world's soul. I'm not sure what a world soul is, but it sounds like something you don't want to drop and break. Okay, 14-year-old orphan boy. Okay, good characterization for him. Apprentices with a master trader. Okay, so trade is going to be an essential part of this story. Helps to make changes in a dying world. Okay, and we're going to be doing that with some form of commerce, which is neat. Does the master trader have access to off-world technology or to some sort of special magic? What can you do as a trader who has products? What can the products do to save a dying world? And what does a kid do with the world's soul? This sounds like this could end up being very risky for the kid because I'm guessing that the world's soul has to be put back into the world and that this might not go as well for the kid as the kid might hope. Okay. World ruled by intro. Let's see. My problem is creating appropriate obstacles in my main character's path that will continually move him towards saving this world. All right. The 14-year-old orphan boy is the main character because he has the protagonist hot seat in the sentence. Okay. The way that you come up with what matters to what the obstacles for the kid is you find out, first of all, what does he want most? You find out what the master trader wants most. And then you make these two things problems for each other. What the kid wants most and what the trader wants most have to be in conflict. The dying world itself can throw up obstacles. And from a dying world, you're going to probably be looking at changes in atmosphere and temperature, changes in the world's crust, earthquakes, tsunamis, things falling apart, things becoming very dangerous. Let's see, additional obstacles. People who sense something different about the master trader and the boy who is traveling with him and attempt to acquire them. Various powerful people in the world who sense that they might be able to take advantage of these two to gain some sort of protection for themselves, the people that they care about. Okay, always your conflicts are going to come from the characters, the conflict, the world, what's happening, events, um, characters, world, events, philosophy, people who don't want to have the world saved, who think that the end of the world is going to bring them to some sort of better world, and who then fight the rescue of the world so that they can die sooner. Okay. Characters, world, events, philosophy, technology, magic. Cultural entropy is the primary symptom of the world's coming death. Stagnation has already occurred. Okay, but is it stagnation that people are passionately attracted to? I mean, if you look at a lot of religions today, a lot of these religions actively welcome the destruction of the world. They would be thrilled if the planet got blown up. So, is it that kind of stagnation, or is it a stagnation? Well, another kind of stagnation. Nothing comes to mind right at the moment. Okay. That should help a little bit. If it doesn't, go ahead, add an extra question at the bottom, and I will get back to you if I can. All right. My next person here is Kate. Yeah, Kate, this is, I don't know, this is the right chat if you want brainstorming. Oh, okay, here we go. Kate has extra things that have popped up. Okay. And let me get a sip of water here quick. Okay, Kate's sentence is, Lord of the Dance begins calling his dancers and discovers that some are not what he first thought. Michael is learning that not everyone is what he thought. One reason the octopus map changed. He also learns or begins to suspect who kills his parents and betrayed the circle. All right, this isn't in actual sentence form, so it's a little hard to dissect this. But all right, what we need to know, what you need to bring into the story is, who is the Lord of the Dance and what powers does he have? Why do we care about him? If he is going to be your protagonist, he needs to mean something to us. And dance needs to have some import other than people standing in a line and line dancing. Dance has to be a critical element of your world if this is what you are entering into in as the core of your story. Okay, so some of the dancers are not what he first thought. The dancers are not necessarily our antagonists, but oh, that's okay, Kate. Kate says, I lost the index card. Sorry, not a problem. I'll work with this. It's okay. The dancers are not what he first thought. So why does that matter? What kind of dancers did he think he was getting? And you need to present this to your readers. And then what kind of dancers did he actually get? And why does this matter? Okay, dance, Kate says, is a battle. So, okay, so what he is getting with dancers is warriors who are not what he anticipated. This could be traitors. This could be criminals. This could be people who are actually fighting for some other objective. We don't know what the objective is here, and that does need to be in your sentence. Why has this battle been called? Why are these dancers gathering? And what are they up against? That's going to be your obstacle. Is why? Why are they gathering together? Who stands against them? Who wants to see them fail? And what is at stake if they do? Who loses and what do they lose? So your Lord of the Dance has to be the person who has tremendous things to lose in order to be your main character. He has to be the one who stands to lose the most. That's sometimes a little tough to do with the guy who is in power. But if you can pull it off, it should be pretty good. Explain, no, don't explain, show. Show what he has to lose. Show it being taken away from him a little bit at a time. Let us understand his pain and his loss. Let us understand why he has chosen to fight. Let us understand who he wants to stand with him. And then bring in the element of not all of these people are what they present themselves as. And again, if that doesn't help, go ahead and add another question. I will get back to you if I can. Okay. And now I've got Elizabeth Poole. She says, my sentence is, stuck as a living ghost because of a voodoo priestess's curse, a medium fights to free her soul and come back to full life. Nice sentence. Okay, so our main character is a living ghost with who is, I guess, not inhabiting the body that she was born into, perhaps, that her spirit is free roaming because of the voodoo curse. I'm not sure how voodoo works. It's not one of the areas that I've ever researched. So, my concepts on this might be a little off. I will try to go broad so that you'll get something useful out of this. A medium fights to free her soul and bring her back to life. Okay, so she has someone who's on her side. I'm planning on doing a series of linked sequential novellas. How do you set things up? Okay, and I wrote the first novella, and it's all over the place. Too long, plot is uneven, etc. Okay, this is what you have to do. Is you figure out one small conflict for each story. So, okay, just off the wall, a small conflict would be first story, finding the medium. She wakes up dead. She wakes up hovering over her body, and she knows that she's tied to it somehow, doesn't know how, has to find help. Right, she's only mostly dead. If she's all dead, then you go through the pockets and look for loose change. So then we have to find, how does the medium find her? And from there, that's basically, if you're doing a novella and it's relatively short, your first story is going to be your meet cute, where you're trapped, your spirit trapped to its dead body, meets the person who can maybe help her get her body's life back, and the troubles that are involved in making that happen. Your second story then is a spin-off from that, because if you are doing a series of these, and I'm assuming that it does have to be a series that ends at some point, simply because you don't want to see her stuck to her mostly dead body forever. That gets a little smelly after a while. Then you want to figure out who cursed her, what they have to gain from cursing her, what made her special in the first place, what made her the character that some person wanted to, oh, okay, the character is the medium. Okay, in which case, what you are looking at is, first off, the various questions you're going to have to answer is, who wanted me dead? and each question is going to be its own story. Who wanted me dead? What did she do to me? He. How do I get myself out of this? What special ingredients do I not yet have? Can I find an ally? Can I get even with the person who did this to me? Can I save myself? And each one of those, you go through it, you write down the story concept, the small story concept for just that question, for just that story, and then you answer that question in the story. Now, because you have a series, you can have a lot of other things going on in the background, and each of these things can tie in from episode to episode to episode, which is essentially what I'm doing with the Longview series, because they're short stories. I ask and answer one question as the core in each sentence, which was what happens to this criminal who has been condemned to death? That was story one. And then what happens to Susie Delight, who has been condemned to death? That was story two. And in story three, it's going to be what happens to Bashtik Nokid, who manages to hitch a ride on the Longview. And from there, then, you build out the other characters in the story, the people who bring extra depth to what you're telling, who help your character, who hurt your character. And you keep these same characters through each episode, or, kill off a few, but bring in new ones to replace them as you go through it. And I hope that helps. And I'm going to move on to my next person here. Okay. Do you feel like I need to do anything prior to setting up her life prior to dying? No, just let her wake up dead. That gives her the most reason to want to fix this and leaves her in the position of knowing the least, which makes her the ideal main character. Your ideal main character is the person who knows the least about what's going on and who has the most to lose if he doesn't figure it out. All right. And our next person is Melinda. And Melinda says, background: Emily, 14, received a storyteller's ring for her birthday that summons fictional characters from their books. Turns out the characters have problems Emily needs to solve. Yeah, don't they all? Yeah, you just can't have guests drop by and they don't have some sort of a problem for you to do. Okay, I like this. This is a nice sentence. Linked standalones, bulletproof cast, small world, consequential time. Okay, so, and this is, bulletproof cast is ideal for something that you're writing for, I'm guessing, about a 14-year-old audience. Having problems saving mysteries. Seems like they're all solved by the end of the first episode. Okay. All right. This is actually a pretty easy fix. You have one big mystery. Okay. You have your story questions, like I told my previous person, but then you have one big overall question. In my case with the Longview, that question is, who is the owner and what does he want? And I work just a little bit on that story with every episode, working toward the ending. Now, I already know the answer to this. I knew the answer to this before I started the series. But I am just doling out little pieces of that particular mystery from episode to episode to episode. And it will not be resolved until I write the last story. But then you also, with that big mystery, you have one story question that you answer in that specific story. And then you build little additional things around it that you can carry along. But you don't write a series with just one mystery. You write a series with a big one that goes in everything and little ones that go from story to story, or that finish in each story. Okay. I'm going to move on. Let's see what I've got here is James Holland. He says, I am studying Hunting the Corrigan's Blood as suggested, but I would love to hear. Oh, okay. That was last time's question. Okay. What would you suggest for a brand new person? First story, as far as the story type, loner, POV, time, world. Fallen, okay. And that was old too. I'm sorry. These don't have any sort of a date on them, so I have no idea. Fallen and banished superhero in a land where travel happens through individual magical doorways each person carries with them. Uncovers conspiracy theory that someone is taking over the doorways. You walk through and are never heard from again. Cool. All right. That's neat. Carrying your magical doorway with you is very neat. Okay, and someone is gathering up the doorways. And we have someone who has been completely discredited, a fallen and banished superhero who discovers the conspiracy, which, because he has been discredited, makes it very difficult for him to get in there and do anything to help. Nobody's going to believe him. Okay, so my questions here are, what kind of superpowers does he have? If he's a superhero, he's got to have something pretty cool. And how does it tie into the magical doorways? Where do people get these magical doorways? Are they inherent in, are you born with them? Are they some sort of a thing you can buy at Walmart? How do you get a doorway? What do you do with it? How do you use it? How can you misuse it? What happens if you make a mistake? And for the fallen and banished superhero, does he have a doorway? Is he allowed to use it? If he's been banished, how is that made possible? What sort of magical technology or technical technology makes that something that he can't get past? Okay, I'm back. What does he have to do to make this, to find the people or person who is doing this? Okay, Psyland. Everybody has them, okay? I'm interested in how they work. I think everybody has a magical door. There are going to be some really awkward moments if magical doors can take you pretty much anywhere. So what are the limitations of the magic? And what happens when somebody uses it wrong? What happens when it breaks? That's pretty much what I've got here. Ask yourself some really solid questions about what kind of limitations you have to put on your superhero to make this as hard for him as possible. He needs to basically be powerless, no matter what his powers might be when he starts out, in order for him to be a sympathetic character. And the things that he has to struggle against, being discredited, having lost everyone who cared about him, take things away from him first, make him hurt, and then make us wonder what it is that he hopes to regain by helping these people who banished him. Because again, here you're looking at somebody who has got to have a pretty compelling reason for helping people who have punished him. Okay, take something many ways. I'm not sure where we went with that. And I'm not going to guess. All right. I am, however, going to move on to the next person. If that didn't help, go ahead and ask an additional question. And what I have, let's see, Zoey here. Okay, Zoey has Zoey has no questions that I see yet. Continue. Holds true for the entire series. Okay, this is one of the ones that really got messed up. I cannot find a question here. You had read in your link, but Zoe, I am not finding a question. If we can't get this to work this time, just use the help desk and write your question down for me, and I'll answer it in there. That's not really the way I prefer to do this, but I don't see where you've got a question in your tab. Okay, and now I'm to Eleanor. Fallen god, his handler, and a human girl travel the world to find and fight true darkness, unaware that they are bound together by ancient threads of destiny. How do I make the weight of the past clear without doing tons of flashbacks? Okay, the human girl is a reincarnation of a girl the god knew and loved centuries ago. Okay, anytime you are writing a destiny story, you are automatically fighting puppet syndrome, wherein if there is a destiny that's already set out, we already know how the story must end. So what you are basically doing, if you want to write something surprising in a destiny story, is you have to break destiny. You have to have your people not accept the destinies that they have been given and move against them and break out of the puppet mold. Because anytime you've got characters who have a destiny planned for them, Farm Boy is destined to become king. If Farm Boy then becomes king, you've wasted your story. Farm Boy destined to become king, who instead becomes a rock and roll guitarist, that's something a little different. And that gives him free will. If you have puppets, you can't have conflict because everything has to work out right in the end. So what you're looking for here, they have to travel the world to find and fight true darkness, unaware that they are bound together by ancient threads of destiny. Okay, when they are bound together, unaware of their connections to each other, again, you've got that puppet thing going. And it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make the story matter. And the weight of the past, you don't ever have to do flashbacks. What you can do is have, all right, let's see, a fallen god, his handler. His handler suggests that he has a temper or a rock star personality, and he has someone with him to keep him out of the drugs and other things that fallen gods might want to get into. The human girl is not genuinely human. Well, okay, I guess she could be if she's reincarnated. Again, we're tied back to that puppet loop. See, destiny throws a big problem into telling a good story, and I'm trying to work out how you can get around that, but you have it really, really tightly woven into your sentence here. Making the weight of the past clear without doing tons of flashbacks. You have them discover that they have things in common. You have them answer each other's sentences oddly, and recognize that there is some sort of a connection that they cannot explain. You have them fall in love and then or you have them hate each other, and then discover that even in spite of the fact that they hate each other for standing on opposite sides of issues that exist in the present, that somewhere along the way, they are discovering common ground that they can't explain, that wasn't in their past because he knows her. He will have to eventually recognize her, I guess. She doesn't have to have to accept that he means anything to her. She has the advantage of not having immortality to chain her to her own past. Beyond birth, she doesn't have a past as far as she knows. But giving them some common ground will allow you to skip the flashbacks, common interests, common hatreds, in spite of the fact that they need to have one big conflict between them that stands in the way of everything just working out. Okay, I hope that helped. You are working with a really tough sentence there simply because of the way you structured the story. And I'm going to go back to Ellen now, who has added. Okay, and okay. Basically, Ellen says, I hope you're feeling better. I mostly am. I had a rough week. Some vertigo. Not a lot of fun. Headaches. It's the first time in a long time I've had anything like that. So, but I'm okay today, and I appreciate the kind words. All right. Well, we are basically at the end of our hour. So thank you for coming. And I enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. And again, if you got stuck on this, if I didn't manage to connect in a meaningful way with your particular story idea, just drop me a line in the help desk, and I will build out from what we got here, or try a different direction for you. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and close now, and we'll see you soon.